Spoke by phone with Pope Francis today and awarded the Pope the Presidential Medal of Freedom with distinction. America is listening to Fox News.
Fox News Audio presents the Fox Nation Investigates podcast. A look into the Menendez brothers with victims or villains. Then, Judge Jeanine Pirro and a panel of experts break down their new fight for freedom with monsters or misunderstood. And follow 3 incredible cases where world-renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden helps change the course of the investigation with the Baden Files. Listen and follow at foxtruecrime.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
It is time to take the quiz.
5 days a week, it's 5 questions in less than 5 minutes. We ask people on the streets of New York City to play along. Let's see how you do.
Including the pre-Super Bowl era, what NFL franchise has won the most NFL championships?
I'm going to say the Cowboys.
I guess I would say the Packers.
How'd you do exactly? These get tougher, so hang on.
Take the quiz every weekday at thequiz.fox. Thank you for taking the quiz.
National
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Getting slightly warmer. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. Temperatures are expected to get a bit warmer in the coming days, but warmer may be a relative term.
We'll start to see temperatures recover late week, maybe back towards freezing into next weekend.
Meteorologist Mike Ryan with the National Weather Service Indianapolis. He says you can expect wind chills around negative 10 degrees during the first part of the work week. First responders say someone in Greenwood helped rescue a woman and her daughter Friday evening after they both fell through the ice on a pond. The woman had apparently been trying to rescue her dog when she fell through the ice near Winterwood Drive. Then her daughter fell through the ice while trying to rescue her mother. Thankfully, a third person was able to throw a rope to the victims and pull them closer to land. But he's being called Mr. January.
41-yard attempt. Snap and hold are good. The kick is good!
The call on ESPN as Mitch Jeter kicked the game-winning field goal that would lift the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to the College Football Playoff National Championship game. They beat Penn State in the Orange Bowl Thursday, 27-24. They're set to face Ohio State next. The average price for gas across the state is currently $3 per gallon, according to GasBuddy.com. That's below the national average of $3.07. On the level, on the go, and on WYBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Tonight, look for mostly cloudy skies. Lows will fall right around 20. On Sunday, there is a chance that we could see a little bit of some light snow late. It will be a touch warmer with highs near 32. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for 93 WIBC.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Early bird special only $49.99 guaranteed. Also, lose all the weight and let Mark Patrick Hypnosis destroy unwanted cravings. Seminars Thursday, January 23rd at the Holiday Inn Express in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m., stop smoking seminar at 8. Or Saturday, January 25th at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m., stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or are covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
Amber and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And good afternoon, and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. Hope you're having a great weekend. And I've spent a little bit too much time here the last few days shoveling snow. I jokingly posted a meme on social media when we had the larger snow coming into town earlier in the week, where it was the gates of St. Peter and there was a whole big long line of pudgy middle-aged guys carrying snow shovels. And the caption was something like, "When are you guys going to learn to stop shoveling snow?" And so I identified with that, being someone who's probably a little bit beyond middle age. But hey, whether it was stupidity or stubbornness, I still got out there and did a lot of shoveling, a little bit less yesterday. But anyway, we hope you're all dug out. Sun came out a few times. I was out on the roads quite a bit all this week and today, and everything looks good. We want to get into what we expect to see in Congress coming up here this next legislative session after the new Congress is sworn in, and a lot of Second Amendment proponents are optimistic, or at least hopeful, that with President Trump returning to the White House, with the Republicans having taken control of the Senate and keeping by a more narrow margin than we would have preferred, but keeping control of the House, we ought to be able to get some things done on pro-Second Amendment legislation. And the pro-Second Amendment legislation that a lot of people have at the top of their list is a national, and it goes by different names, but for the most part, what's been called national reciprocity. And in fact, just Friday, U.S. Representative Tracy Mann from Kansas and Richard Hudson from North Carolina, along with 120 of their colleagues, Republicans in the House, introduced H.R. 38. And that's a House bill that they're calling the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. And listen, we've passed a Reciprocity Act. In fact, this was during Trump's first term, when we also, for 2 years anyway, I say we, Republicans, had control of the House and the Senate, at least for 2 years, the first 2 years of the first Trump presidency. We had control of the House and the Senate. And the House passed national reciprocity back then. And the Senate and Mitch McConnell never brought it up for a vote. And a lot of people were very upset about that. And it could be, it arguably takes 60 votes in the Senate, under the rules that they have to bring a bill to the floor for a vote and closed debate, what's called cloture. And listen, however you feel about that 60-vote requirement, it is a two-edged sword, no question. It has saved us from some horrible gun control legislation over the years, but also inhibits us from doing things that we would like to see happen as people who fight for Second Amendment rights. But even then, a lot of Democrats, especially these days, I think a lot of Democrats have figured out that being anti-Second Amendment just really isn't good for their long-term goals in terms of staying in office. And a lot of Democrats, I'm not talking about New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Maryland, but there are other states that we may consider to be blue states, where a lot of residents there take their Second Amendment rights very seriously. And so I don't completely give up hope on reaching those thresholds to be able to get something done. But I want to talk about reciprocity and calling this particular bill, and again, it's H.R. 38, if you want to look it up, authored by Tracy Mann from Kansas and Richard Hudson from North Carolina, two U.S. representatives. It's legitimate to call it the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, because I got to tell you, of all the national reciprocity, and by the way, if you're not familiar with that term, let's just take a moment to back up, make sure we're all on the same page. What national reciprocity means, and if you're a regular listener of the Gun Guy Show, I'm sure you know this already, but it bears review, and there are people who may be tuning in early on or for the first time. What it means is that today, every state issues in some form and with varying requirements and conditions, some form of a license to carry handgun. And they may call it a concealed carry permit or a concealed carry weapon license, concealed pistol permit. There are any number of different names we put on these. Here in Indiana, we call it a license to carry handgun. And by the way, if you call it a concealed carry permit or concealed carry license, that's not quite accurate, and it's not a distinction without a difference, because our license is never, even before we pass constitutional carry, our license has never required us to conceal a handgun to carry it. That's why it's not called a concealed carry license, because you don't have to conceal. And that has caused a lot of confusion. That confusion on that point has been a problem in this state. I have had multiple clients or potential clients call me saying that they got stopped by a police officer. One person was accosted in a restaurant, was just sitting having a meal with his family, and he was open carrying. Totally legal. Had his licenses before constitutional carry. And a police officer who was there having a meal as well walked up to him and said, "You need to conceal that handgun immediately or I'm going to arrest you." The guy was calm about it and said, "Well, sir, I'm completely complying with the law. Indiana's license does not require concealment." And the police officer, and this is in, I want to say, Fort Wayne, got all huffy about it and said, "No, we have a concealed carry license, and you need to conceal that gun." And this gentleman pulled his license out and he said, "No, sir, it's called a license to carry." And a police officer took it and said, "Nowhere on here does it say you can open carry." Again, trying to maintain his patience and his calm, the gentleman said, "Well, there's nothing on here that says I have to conceal." And at the end of the day, the officer threatened to revoke his license on the spot, which is ridiculous, by the way. A police officer doesn't do that on the scene. The Indiana State Police do that after a hearing, but was going to arrest him. And he said, "Listen, just conceal the damn gun and you can go on with your meal." And so eventually he did. He untucked his shirt. But that kind of confusion is a problem, and that's why I always want to correct people on that issue. So we have a license to carry handgun. Every state now, and this is after litigation, the federal courts required Illinois to issue a license to their own residents here a few years ago. I want to say now probably 11 years ago. 15 years ago. Man, I'm getting old. But Illinois was required by the courts to issue a license. The District of Columbia was required by the courts to issue a license. Now, they went kicking and screaming. They put all kinds of ridiculous requirements on it with a long, expensive, burdensome training requirements, and et cetera, et cetera. But every state issues some form of license. So what reciprocity says and what this bill says, and by the way, this is a badass bill. I'm going to go through some of the other components of it here after this break. But the components of it are not only that if a state issues a license, well, every state and the District of Columbia issues a license. But it says if a state issues a license to its own residents, it has to recognize every other license issued by any other state, notwithstanding any law of that state and notwithstanding any law of any political subdivision. That means unit of local government. So it doesn't matter what the city of Chicago says or the city of New York says. Those are political subdivisions, local governmental units within a state, notwithstanding the law of any state or any political subdivision, meaning local government. If a state issues a license to its own residents, then they have to allow a person who either has a license from their home state or is from a state that has constitutional carry or permitless carry, as it's also known, in their home state. They have to allow that person to carry within within that state as well. So this would allow you with your Indiana license, or just by virtue of the fact you're from Indiana that now has constitutional carry, to carry in, yes, New York and New Jersey and California and Hawaii and all the other states that do not recognize our license. And there are currently 32 states that recognize our license. So of the other 18 under this bill, you can carry there. There are other provisions of this bill that that are just badass I'll go into here in a minute. But this is awesome. And it's the best bill on this topic I've seen. It is still not, and this may surprise you, it is still not the best way in my mind to resolve this issue of a national right to carry. It's not my favorite way to resolve the issue, and I'll go into that when we come back. Right now, we're a little past the quarter hour. We're taking a break. Give us a call. Join the discussion, especially if you want to talk about traveling with your gun, specifically your EDC, as we call it, your everyday carry, your concealed handgun. If you want to travel with that, you got questions about that, you got questions about this bill or other ways to skin this particular cat, give me a call, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
We knew it was coming.
This dangerous storm. Where the snow's going to hit, the timing of the snow, ice and snow.
Now it's here.
Slick roads and sidewalks.
Additional accumulations.
It is definitely dangerous.
And we'll be here with you.
2 jackknife semis. More Indy DPW plows out right now.
Close to 200 flight cancellations.
Continuing coverage on your official severe winter weather station.
Crashes and some slide-offs in the area.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular class is our Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class. This is 4.5 to 5 hours of the most important information you need as an Indiana gun owner. We'll go through a detailed discussion of the justified use of force, including deadly force in self-defense or defense of other people. We talk about where you can and cannot carry a firearm. We talk about how you can lose your Second Amendment rights really in ways that surprise a lot of people when it happens to them simply because they don't understand the law. That and a whole heck of a lot more. How to avoid commonly prosecuted crimes like intimidation with a deadly weapon, criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon, or we have a crime right here in Indiana, pointing a firearm. All felonies, all of which can not only send you to jail, but cause you to lose your Second Amendment rights forever, and certainly for a long, long time, if not forever. All those and a lot more are topics we cover in Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. We've got one coming up just 2 weeks from today, January 25th at Indy Arms, 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. And then we've got one coming up in March. If you're not available January 25th, March 15th, we're going to be out at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range in Avon, conveniently located right there on Kingston Street in Avon. Also $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there. You can register right online. Just go to tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Hi, I'm Dwight Freeney. Recently, I had the honor of meeting some incredible kids who are waiting for a life-saving organ transplant here in Indiana. I saw firsthand the importance of saying yes to organ donation. It's not just about saving lives. It's about giving others the chance to grow up, play, and dream big. Signing up as an organ donor is quick and easy. It takes less than a minute, but the difference you can make lasts a lifetime. Learn more at donatelifeindiana.org.
It's the new year. Time to make a positive change in your life.
I went to My Computer Career because I needed job security.
Because I wanted a career in cybersecurity.
I went to My Computer Career because IT jobs are everywhere.
My old job was going nowhere.
I went because I didn't want college loans for the rest of my life.
Because I wanted a career for the rest of my life.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. Financial aid available for qualified students, including the GI Bill. 529 college savings plans accepted. Not available in Washington State.
We see it every day online, tragedy of some sort, and our kids see it too. This message is brought to you by the Indiana Youth Institute. Now more than ever, our youth need our support, even if they don't experience an event firsthand. Talking about what is going on can help them understand and feel safe. When talking to our youth about tragedy, use gentle words, offer comfort, and encourage them to share their worries. And remember, our youth could be experiencing fear, shock, anger, anxiety, and grief. These reactions are all normal, and their age will likely affect how they handle the stress. Be patient with support as your child grieves. However, if the child continues to display strong reaction for more than 2 to 4 weeks, they might need more help coping. This Kids Count Minute is a message from the Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, go to IYI.org/kids.
Kids count on you.
After I got out of the Marine Corps, coming back home, it was just a mental breakdown for me. I was on the verge of giving up. That chapter, that season in my life was over. Now what? Who was I? That's what I kept asking myself. The pressure to have it all together, to heal, to quiet down the monsters inside, it was too much. I lost it. I had heard about the Wounded Warrior Project. I had seen the logo and that visual of a warrior carrying another warrior. The programs that the Wounded Warrior Project offers, it's not just the veteran themselves, it's their whole family. It brings it all together. We have scars that we carry, and just because the scars are there doesn't mean that we're any less than what we were. Right now, I'm the best version that I ever have been of myself. I can embrace the brokenness.
You wouldn't go into battle alone. You don't have to fight this alone. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/notalone.
Hey y'all, I'm Blake Shelton. Being from Oklahoma, I know a thing or two about natural disasters. Tornadoes are common where I'm from and have affected my life and the lives of people I care about. No matter where you live, be aware of the dangers in your area and have a plan. You can create an emergency kit, come up with an evacuation plan, and know where to seek shelter. You never know when a disaster may hit. These simple steps can help save a life. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
B is offering one bath remodel for as low as $99 a month, or get 2 bath remodels for as low as $249 a month. Call now to schedule that free in-home design consultation.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIPZ.
And welcome back. I'll tell you what, let's go to the phone lines because we've already got several people on the phone lines. If I can get my computer to work here. Let's go to the phone lines, and we've got, looks like Annie. Annie, I think you may be a return caller. Annie, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hi, Guy. I would like to carry the case you just mentioned in Fort Wayne about the policeman that did not understand the laws that he's supposed to uphold. What would be the chances if that young man had politely refused to pull his shirt tails over his gun and conceal it, and he had gotten arrested? What would be his chances of getting attorneys such as yourself to take the case, and what would be the chances of getting a financial settlement?
Annie, I like the way you think, and that's a fabulous question. Well, it's 100% that he could get a lawyer such as myself, because he actually did get a lawyer, which was myself, and I was pleased to represent him. And it was interesting. And this it turned out to be a fairly minor thing because he was not arrested. And he was just hassled, but he was hassled inappropriately. And so I asked the person, the client, I said, well, what do you want out of this? What are you looking for? That's something a lawyer should always ask a client, which is, okay, sometimes it's obvious. You get arrested and prosecuted for a crime. Their objective is, of course, to be found not guilty or have that case dismissed. But here, it's like, what do you want, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? He goes, well, listen, I was just embarrassed. I was hassled, and I'm a little angry. That officer got the law wrong. And so I would like an apology, and I would like the officers in this jurisdiction. And by the way, I'm going from memory, and this is probably 8 or 9 years ago. So I don't want to disparage the good officers in Fort Wayne if I have that town wrong. I think that's correct. But let's put a big asterisk next to that, because I may be incorrect on the actual city involved. But I said, well, tell you what, let's just let me as your lawyer write a letter, and we'll send it to the police chief, we'll send it to the mayor, we'll send it to the city council, that is the lawyer that represents the city, and explain why what the officer did was not legal, and why it was an incorrect position given the law in Indiana that does not require concealment. And also, and this is the real quick kicker, and it goes to the second part of your question, Annie, what's the likelihood of some financial settlement, particularly if he was arrested? There's what we have in Indiana is what's called the Indiana Firearms Preemption Act, and it says local governments, like the city And listen, because I'm not 100% sure it was Fort Wayne, if I was just sitting in my office in Carmel, I could check the file and tell you exactly where it was. But because I'm not 100% certain on that, let's just say, whatever city it was with an asterisk next to it, a local government like that city cannot regulate regulate firearms generally, but specifically cannot regulate the carrying of firearms. There are certain exceptions to that, like they can say, okay, you can't have a gun in a building that contains a courtroom. But beyond very limited exceptions, local government, including representatives of that government, cannot regulate the carrying of firearms. They can't regulate firearms generally, but included within that, they can't regulate the carrying of firearms. So by imposing his rule, which he thought was the law of the state of Indiana, it was not. But to enforce that against a person, that's a local government restricting the carrying of firearms, regulating the carrying of firearms in violation of the Indiana Firearms Preemption Act. And I have filed multiple lawsuits. And I will have the town right on this one. I had a gentleman who tried to vote in South Bend at a fire station and was prevented by a person who was both an assistant volunteer fire chief as well as a reserve officer for the St. Joseph County Sheriff's Department. I believe they call it Sheriff's Office up there. And this person said, you can't vote if you're carrying a gun. And this case got quite a bit of publicity. And I became very good friends. A gentleman was home on leave from the military. He was a Marine at the time. He since re-enlisted, went back into the Navy, became a chaplain in the Navy, just a fabulous human being. And I was proud to be his friend. I was proud to be his lawyer. But he tried to vote, and this police officer / firefighter at a fire station where the polling place was said, you can't come in here with a gun. And my client rightly said, there's no law that says I can't. He said, no, it's illegal to carry a gun in a voting place. And my client said, no, it's not. Not unless it's already illegal because it's a school or some other prohibited place, and there's no law that says you can't carry a gun in a fire station. So my client rightly said, no, you're wrong. Which one I said, well, then you can't carry a gun in a fire station. He said, no such law. And my client, a gentleman named Clay Ettinger, a real hero in my mind, said, no, you're completely wrong. There's no law that says I can't vote and carry my gun in the place where this polling station is. So you need to let me vote. And the guy said, no. And Clay actually called me from the parking lot because he knew me, knew who I was. And I tried to get a hold of the sheriff there. I tried to get a hold of the police chief, the fire chief, and say, listen, you guys are breaking the law. You can't restrict the carrying of firearms. It's a violation of Indiana law through the Preemption Act. Couldn't get a hold of anybody. Well, everybody's busy with the election. I go, well, you're about to get more busy because we're going to enforce this statute. And he goes back right at closing time, as I told him to do, because I thought they might get a message from me that says they needed to let him vote, and they didn't let him vote. They were waiting for him because he said, I'll be back. And they had more than one officer outside the door saying, nope, you can't come in here, not with a gun. So we sued him. And listen, even though I'm a lawyer, I'm not a particularly litigious person. I would much rather resolve things without having to sue people. But in that case, they violated the Preemption Act. We sued them, and we got a very nice settlement that compensated. And by the way, under the Preemption Act, you can recover as damages, because what are your out-of-pocket damages? I mean, okay, you couldn't vote while you were carrying your gun. What's that worth? Well, the legislature realized that when they passed the preemption law, and they included in it what's called a liquidated damages provision, which means, which was defined as, you can recover 3 times your attorney's fees plus your attorney's fees. So go file a lawsuit, litigate that for a year or two. We go through all kinds of motions to dismiss, which we had to deal with in discovery, and all kinds of other BS that they'll try to throw up against you to try to get the case dismissed. Go through a year or two of litigation. What are your attorney's fees? Well, they can be significant, and then you get 3 times that plus your attorney's fees. So essentially 4 times your attorney's fees. So to answer your question, Annie, I know it's a much longer answer than you were looking for, but in this case, we were looking at the same thing. Specifically, if he'd been arrested, oh, hell yes. If they pick him up from his dinner table where he's having dinner with his family, violating no law, by open carrying his gun, which Indiana specifically allows through their license to carry even before constitutional carry. If he'd been handcuffed and taken to jail, that's a lawsuit worth filing. It's worth filing for two reasons. One is because this guy got handcuffed for not breaking the law because a police officer didn't understand the law. That's not okay. It's also worth filing, just like the lawsuit was worth filing in South Bend, because you know what? Every election official in every county got a memo after that. I know this for a fact. I've seen the memo that said, and I believe by the Indiana Election Commission, it said, by the way, if your polling station is not already a prohibited location like a school where it's illegal to carry a gun, you can't deny someone the right to vote because they're carrying a gun. There's no law in Indiana. There's no federal law. And oh, by the way, since that happened, we've had bills be filed right here in the Indiana General Assembly trying to make it a crime to carry a gun in a polling place, even though it's not a prohibited place to carry a gun. So, if he'd gotten arrested, we'd have filed a lawsuit and we'd have won. This person, in answer to the question, what are you looking at, to get out of this? And he wasn't trying to get rich. He wasn't trying to make money on it. He said, I want an apology and I want the officers in this particular town to be educated. So I wrote a letter, as I mentioned, and to the department, to the mayor's office, to the city attorney, and said, listen, you broke the law, the city did, through its police officer, by requiring someone, by regulating the manner in which he was carrying his firearm, which local governments are not allowed to do. Outside certain exceptions under the Indiana Firearms Preemption Act, you're looking at liability here, but all my client wants is an apology, and he wants your officers to be better trained. And you know what? We got a letter back, my recollection is, by an assistant chief of police that said, you're right, we were wrong, our officer was wrong, and we do apologize, and our next in-service training session is going to cover this point specifically to let our officers know that this officer was wrong and that there was nothing wrong with open carrying if you have a license to carry in Indiana. And oh, by the way, constitutional carry, which we now passed 2 years ago plus, also allows you to open carry. A lot of people are confused about constitutional carry. If I have time, I'll go through that here during this show. Constitutional carry or permitless carry applies to anyone 18 plus, resident or non-resident, and applies to both open and concealed carry. A lot of people say, oh, we have constitutional carry or permitless carry, but only for open carry. Or then they say, oh, no, it's only for concealed carry. Well, no, it's for both. Just like our license was for both and is for both. License didn't go away. You can still get a license if you want one. There are good reasons to have a license. I'll go through that, time permitting as well. Very good reasons to have a license. But you can open carry or concealed carry under constitutional carry just like you can under our license. A little past the bottom of the hour, we're taking a break. We've got more people on hold. We'll go to the phone lines and continue the discussion about this national constitutional concealed carry reciprocity bill, H.R. 38, filed in Congress, or to be filed in the upcoming session of the United States Congress. Very excited about this. It's a badass bill. I'll go through more provisions of it and tell you why I'm excited about it, and even then tell you why it's not my absolute favorite way to deal with the issue of national reciprocity. Why is that? Well, stay tuned. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
We knew it was coming.
This dangerous storm, where the snow's going to hit, the timing of the snow, ice and snow.
Now it's here.
Slick roads and sidewalks.
Additional accumulations. It is definitely dangerous.
And we'll be here with you.
2 jackknife semis. More Indy DPW plows out right now.
Close to 200 flight cancellations.
Continuing coverage on your official severe winter weather station.
Crashes and some slide-offs in the area.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Where can you kick off the new year with big savings on gig speed? Only with Xfinity, now through January 16th. Get gig internet at home for $25 a month for 1 year when you add an unlimited mobile line, which connects you to gig speed Wi-Fi on the road. Act fast today and save more than $650 over AT&T and Verizon in your first year. Plus, hurry and take advantage because right now you can also get a free 5G phone with trade-in. So save big and stay connected to what you love with fast gig speed internet and mobile. From home to hotspots, speeds. This new year, it's all about gig speeds and big savings. Don't wait and get gig speed internet. Spend less green and switch to Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com/gig savings to learn more. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. $40 internet discount applied to mobile bill. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Welcome Line and AT&T Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Starter Line. Xfinity internet required. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
The crew at LD Smith Plumbing has deep roots in Indiana. Unfortunately, most of the trees around here have deep roots too. And if it isn't roots in your pipes, it's a water heater ruined by sediment. No matter the plumbing problem, we'll show water who's boss. So if you need a new water heater, call us today and save up to $300 on a tankless water heater or $150 on a storage water heater.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
Roger Stern. Wildfires are spreading in L.A. Our Max Gordon is in Mandeville Canyon.
This fire flaring up, burning over this ridge. You're talking about this steep terrain, these canyons where the fire is burning, and this massive plume of smoke rising up into the air.
11 people are confirmed dead. Fires have destroyed 12,000 structures. Donald Trump making history. In 9 days, he becomes the first convicted felon to be sworn in as president. New York State Judge Juan Merchan sentencing him, but not imposing jail time or a fine.
Extraordinary legal protections afforded by the Office of the Chief Executive is a factor that overrides all others.
A Manhattan jury convicted Trump on 34 counts of falsifying business records. America is listening to Fox News.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 40-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost you about $100 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance to buy $1 million of affordable term life for you. All you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-239-1749. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. For affordable term life insurance, call 800-239-1749. 800-239-1749.
Dads happen. There's a whole lot of stuff that can mess up the look of your vehicle. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Killa Dent Removal. PDR is paintless dent removal that saves your factory finish and is way less invasive than traditional body shop repairs. And it's faster too, sometimes same day. Google Killa Dent Removal and check out the reviews and photos. Then schedule your repair. Hail baseballs, kids, fender benders, shopping carts, flying cows, angry X's, and anything else that leaves dents. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Killa Dent Removal.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And we're talking about national reciprocity. Annie called in. Annie always has great questions. When Annie calls in with a really great question, about what really got us into a little bit on the Indiana Firearms Preemption Act, where local governments, outside certain exceptions, cannot regulate firearms, and how that applied to an anecdote that I called. Let's go back to the phone lines, and Keith has a question. Keith, welcome to the Gun Guy Show, man.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
Hey, yeah, I understand you got to watch what you read on the internet. You can find anything that validates whatever you think on the internet. But I read something and I questioned, and it said that black powder, and I know a lot of people don't hear about powder, but black powder pistols don't constitute a firearm. How does Indiana specifically treat that? I mean, can you be a felon and have one? Can you be 12 and have one? I'm interested in what you say.
Well, it's really, Keith, it's more of a complex question than I have time to go to in the air. So do not take this, anybody listening, don't take this as a complete answer. But federal law and to some degree Indiana law say that antique pistols aren't firearms. And that's where you get a lot of things on the internet that say black powder firearms are not firearms and felons can carry them. And it's not black powder so much as it's the definition of antique firearm. So, again, it's more complex than this, and it has to do with what disability you might have. Firearm disability is a term federal law uses in terms of something that prevents you from possessing a firearm. But yes, if it meets the definition of an antique firearm, which includes, a gun made before a certain date or a replica of that gun that doesn't fire a fixed cartridge, that's where black powder comes in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then that doesn't constitute a firearm, and that's why felons, for instance, can carry them. But please, it's more complex than this, and it's a question. Actually, that when people call my office, I usually say, you know what, we're going to have to set up a consultation and go into all the intricacies of that. So, Keith, forgive me, I don't have time to go through all that. Under some circumstances, an antique firearm, including one that uses black powder, doesn't constitute a firearm, including for purposes of people who have a firearm disability like a felony conviction. But it's more complex than that, and there's more to talk about that I don't have time to go into here on the show. And I'm sorry for the incomplete answer, Keith. Forgive me for that. I didn't want to not take your call at the same time. It bears a little more discussion. Let's go back to the phone lines, and Mike has a question. Mike, what can I do for you?
Hey, Guy. I just had a quick question.
Sure.
I keep seeing more and more about Indiana possibly legalizing marijuana, and I see it more as in prescription-wise and some leaning towards just adult recreational. And if it's only prescription-wise, do you think it'll be like how Florida has it, to where if you already have a concealed carry license or permit and you get a prescription for it, then your gun license is automatically revoked?
Yeah, Mike, that's a great question. But there's no question about it, because one of the limitations on having an Indiana license to carry is you can't have a license to carry in Indiana if you're prohibited by federal law from possessing a gun. And federal law says you can't possess a gun if you're a user of or addicted to any illegal drug. And I'm sure people are sitting there, listening to their radios right now, or they're on their computer saying, well, hold on, if we legalize marijuana in Indiana, then it's no longer an illegal drug. Well, the problem is it's still illegal under federal law. And the feds have decided to not enforce the fact that marijuana is still illegal under federal law, but the feds have taken a very clear position. In fact, they have prosecuted people and saying that because marijuana is illegal under federal law, look up the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. And marijuana is not only illegal under the Controlled Substances Act of 1970, it's listed right up there with, under their schedule of drugs. It's listed right up there with the most addictive, most harmful, and drugs with the least medicinal purposes. I remember talking right up there with meth and cocaine and heroin. As ridiculous as that is, and listen, I don't use marijuana. I figured out in college that marijuana and I don't don't get along. I mean, I want to go curl up in a fetal position and sleep and not talk to anybody because I got ridiculously paranoid and concerned that anything that came out of my mouth was going to be really stupid. So I wanted to lock myself in a room and curl up in a fetal position. So I'm a more social guy than that. So I'm like, all right. So marijuana and I, we just can't have a relationship. But so the marijuana part doesn't matter to me personally, but I have a lot of friends. I may or may not have family members where this is part of their life. And I tell them, listen, until we get the federal law changed, because feds are very clear. You use marijuana, they're going to say you're a prohibited possessor. And the state police, I'll guarantee you, because it's the law and they do a nice job of administering Indiana law. I've worked with the folks who run the licensing division over at the state police for a long time. And they've got some excellent, excellent people over there. A lady named Kim Cross is the administrator who really runs the licensing division. And there are lawyers over there involved, but Kim's been there for 30-some years, and she knows exactly what she's doing. And they're really solid on the law, and they understand that if you're prohibited from possessing a gun under federal law, you can't have a license. And so, and by the way, if you've bought a gun recently, you go in and fill out the 4473 form, the ATF form 4473, has a question right on it. Are you a user of or addicted to any illegal drugs? By the way, that's what Hunter Biden said no to that got him convicted of a felony, 3 felonies associated with him saying no on that form. Now, unless you have a daddy who's available to pardon you as the U.S. president, you probably don't want to lie on that form. And it says now, for the last 3 or 4 years, it says right on that form now, this includes marijuana in states that have legalized marijuana. So to answer your question, buddy, yeah, if we legalize marijuana in Indiana, even if it's just medical with a prescription or it's recreational, I tell people all the time, and listen, there are legislators who are both, big Second Amendment advocates and also pushing for legalization of marijuana. And I tell them, guys, as part of all of this, if you really are concerned about Second Amendment rights, and the people I'm talking about absolutely no question are, in 1,000% committed to Second Amendment rights, we got to get the congressional delegation involved, and there's been some momentum behind legalizing marijuana at the federal level for some time. That's got to happen, or doing one without the other can get people, at a minimum, denied gun purchases and potentially put in jail for possessing guns while a user of or addicted to an illegal drug, marijuana, even if it's legalized at the state level. Fabulous question. Glad we can address it. Way past the 3/4 hour. Let's take a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
We knew it was coming.
This dangerous storm, where the snow's going to hit, the timing of the snow, ice and snow.
Now it's here.
Slick roads and sidewalks.
Additional accumulations. It is definitely dangerous.
And we'll be here with you.
2 jackknife semis. More Indy DPW plows out right now. Close to 200 flight cancellations.
Continuing coverage on your official severe winter weather station.
Crashes and some slide-offs in the area.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Rock Op Defense Solutions. I'll tell you what, we've got an absolute top-end, incredible manufacturer and retailer of fighting rifles located right here in Indiana now. Rock Op Defense Solutions, located in Avon. These folks are building, I know them, these are friends of mine, they're building some of the nicest fighting rifles. We're talking AR-15 platform rifles available anywhere. And I listen, I own some high-end ARs, and I put these folks right up against anything out there available. They've got various price points, different options available. They'll do upgrades on your firearm. They'll do Cerakote, refinishing on your firearm. They'll help you if you want to turn your full-length rifle into an SBR. They'll help you with that process, including providing a change in your gas system or other modifications to your barrel to make sure your gun runs exactly like you want it and need it to run. All that available and a lot more. And again, the thing I'm in love with are absolutely top-end AR-15 platform rifles available right here in Central Indiana at rock-opdefense.com. You can see what they have available. And this is mil-spec and better on everything they produce. and everything they sell. They actually are located right in there with Fort Liberty Firearms, and you can go in and see some of the Rock Op Defense rifles at Fort Liberty Firearms, located in Avon. These are also friends of mine, and I love the fact they're doing business together. I own what's called a Rod 15 from Rock Op Defense, and it's my go-to AR, no question about it. And they help me with turning it into an SBR, so I'm thrilled about the whole process. Check them out at rock-opdefense.com. That's rock-opdefense.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You might not consider yourself a tech expert, but that doesn't mean you can't protect yourself from online scammers with a little help from McAfee Total Protection. Whether it's a fake missed delivery text or an urgent bank alert, these scams can look incredibly convincing. That's where McAfee Total Protection steps in. So go ahead, manage your finances and shop online. McAfee will help keep your device's privacy and identity safer. Visit McAfee.com/online protection today to get award-winning online protection for just $39.99 your first year. That's McAfee.com/online protection. Cancel anytime. Terms apply.
Pat Sullivan here with Michaela of Michaelis. If you have water damage, why should you call Michaelis?
Michaelis is a local family-owned Indianapolis company with 39 years experience. On call 24/7, 365. We are IICRC certified and will restore your space to pre-loss condition or better. And we work through the entire insurance process on your behalf to make it easy.
Water, storms, fire, and mold. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Text or call 844-FIX-INDY.
One of the real advantages that we have here at Hendricks is the scope of the services that we have to offer in orthopedics.
Whether they have a hip fracture or they're a high-functioning athlete, we're all working towards the same thing.
To have them be able to have an elective surgery safely and then go home also in a safe fashion is of utmost importance.
We very much want everyone to get back to doing everything that they were doing beforehand. We're really invested in it.
Unstoppable orthopedic care. Learn more at hendricks.org/ortho.
Building a home can be fun with Joiner Homes because they handle everything. Permits, schedules, their in-house architectural team and design studio where you choose everything is in one spot. So you're going to be able to focus on the fun stuff and not sweat the heavy stuff. Joiner Homes builds beautiful, unique homes that are character-rich, smart design homes that are affordable. Visit JoinerHomes.com and be sure to check out their 5-star Google reviews. That's JoinerHomes.com.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted it close to town with a picture window overlooking a yard. And you found it. Now, when you sit down to dinner, you've got front row seats too. Your neighbor's daily pickleball game. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Never miss your favorite shows on WIBC. Get your content to go. Would you like fries with that? Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey, Hammer and Nigel, Tony Kennett, The Gun Guy, Home and Garden. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. We got a real short segment here before the top of the hour, but one thing I will mention, especially on the issue raised by the caller just now about marijuana still being illegal at the federal level, and it is, there are a couple different ways this can get fixed. First of all, my preference would be to remove marijuana completely from the Controlled Substances Act of 1970 at the federal level, which removes this issue, at least as far as any state that then legalizes marijuana within the state. But separately, this issue is being litigated because under the Supreme Court's rules, Bruin is the case I talk about here all the time, that really changed the analysis on how we decide what's constitutional and what's not in terms of Second Amendment gun control laws and what does or doesn't violate the Second Amendment. It's being litigated right now. In fact, there's a case, I want to say filed in Texas, where someone as part of a traffic stop just admitted that they were a regular user of marijuana, weren't even necessarily high at the time, nor with any marijuana in the car, and they prosecuted that person for violating federal law, for being a user of or addicted to an illegal drug. That's winding its way through the courts, and it could easily be that part of federal law, again, part of federal law that Hunter Biden was convicted under, is found to be unconstitutional. It hasn't happened yet, but that could easily happen. So stay tuned on that. Right now, we're at the end of the first hour. We got to take a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hi, this is Denny Smith for Exercise Inc. A lot of folks give up on their bodies in their 40s or 50s. Statistically, we gain 1.5 pounds every year past 50, and it's usually a tough slog to fight that. 19 years ago, I took a friend's recommendation, and I went to Exercise Inc. for one of their free consultations. Me? I didn't want to get heavy. I wanted to stay trim and in shape, and that was really a struggle. 19 years ago, I went, and 19 years later, I'm still going every week. They've helped me to reach and maintain my health and fitness goals, and they do that with specific strength training in only 20 minutes a week. You've just got to try this health and exercise approach, and the consultation is free. My guess is that, like me, you'll be skeptical for the first couple of weeks, and then it happens. You'll feel better. You'll probably lose some weight, and you'll probably look better, too. Go to Exercise Inc. today and sign up for a free consultation. Avon, Brownsburg, Zionsville, and Greenwood, now in Fishers, too. ExerciseInc.com.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. Owner Danny Reinhardt says putting his kids in charge of more of the day-to-day operations of the business was the plan all along.
It makes me really proud that I know that I can turn it over to my family and they can take care of things, and I've got all the confidence in the world in them. And that's the legacy I'm proud to leave.
A great family-owned business, Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, 317-745-4526. Reinhardt's your trusted local independent American Standard dealer.
My name is Jamie Bowles, and I was diagnosed with non-small cell lung cancer in December of 2018. Nobody would even know looking at me that I have stage 4 lung cancer, and I'm grateful for biomarker testing for that. When I was sitting down with my oncologist, there was already state-of-the-art medication available that I was going to be put on right then and there. Ask your doctor how comprehensive biomarker testing before treatment may help you decide on the best treatment. Visit NoOneMissed.org to learn more.
A public service message from Longevity Foundation.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Hey, it's Rob for Universal Windows Direct. Right now, buy 2 windows, get 2 free. No limit and no payments for 3 years. Restrictions apply. Have a price, they'll beat it. Schedule your free in-home estimate today.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
California. Fox News, I'm Jane Fergus. Wildfires in Los Angeles continue to rage on, and now the National Guard is on the scene. Fox's Christina Coleman reports from Altadena.
There are guardsmen all around this area. They are working hard to support local law enforcement as they try to protect these areas and keep people away from all of this damage. Hard to imagine that just days ago there were so many families, there was so much life here. You know, the National Guard, they've got Humvees positioned at major intersections. They're working nonstop around the clock, rotating in soldiers at these locations to stop people from going into the houses and businesses that have been destroyed. They want to prevent people from looting and keep folks away from downed power lines and gas leaks, very dangerous situations. And they say they know that a lot of people are coming through here. They want badly to get back into this area. They want to check on their homes, but they are urging people to please give them patience.
And a curfew is in place from 6 at night till 6 in the morning for evacuated areas. Meanwhile, California Congressman Ami Bera tells Fox News Live that it's time for Congress to overhaul the way federal aid is doled out during disasters like the wildfires.
These events are becoming more and more frequent, not just in California, but across this country. So we may have to come up with a better system because we can't allocate hundreds of billions of dollars every year and expect these things to be unexpected because they're now happening with regularity.
And damage estimates from the wildfires range from $50 billion to as much as $135 billion. Special counsel Jack Smith has resigned. Politico reporting that he has resigned from the Justice Department. He was in charge of prosecutions for President-elect Trump. America's listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
President-elect Donald Trump is not too pleased.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
What to expect? I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. While temperatures are expected to warm a bit later in the coming week, you may not quite be done with seeing snow.
We do have another system passing through on Sunday that may produce some very light snow, maybe some freezing drizzle during the afternoon and evening. We're talking about maybe a couple of tenths of an inch of accumulation.
That's Mike Ryan, meteorologist with the National Weather Service, Indianapolis. Get updates at weather.gov. You may remember the believed domestic stabbing that happened Thursday in St. Joseph County. A woman had told police that her son had stabbed her husband at the Castle Point Apartments. The victim, later identified as Lee Alexis, was taken to the hospital, but he did not survive. His stepson, Corey Young Jr., was arrested at the scene and is now charged with murder. But starting this weekend, you can see the state's first professional women's volleyball team in action. Indy Ignite's Vice President of Marketing, Carly Klanick, says it will be an exciting season.
The power is just so prevalent in what the players are doing with how high they're jumping, how hard they're hitting, the sound of the ball hitting the floor, the sound of the block is just unbelievable.
Get tickets and learn more at provolleyball.com. And real estate website Zillow says Indianapolis is one of the top 5 hottest housing markets for 2025. Buffalo, Providence, Hartford, and Philadelphia rounded out the top 5, with Buffalo in the number 1 spot. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Tonight, look for mostly cloudy skies. Lows will fall right around 20. On Sunday, there is a chance that we could see a little bit of some light snow late. It will be a touch warmer with highs near 32. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for 93 WIBC.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Tom and Levi.
Tom is the smartest man I know. He's been a professor at 2 major universities, been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, he told me that he was having problems in his classes. I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. And he was telling them that he was doing it as a favor to them, but I think in reality, he just wanted to get out of there. I was really starting to worry because I saw something was wrong.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me, and my love for him was just immense.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Overcoming drug addiction is difficult. The road to recovery is different for everyone. Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose. Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. I'm thrilled that you're with us. By the way, you can tune in to YouTube and watch the show live. You go to YouTube, either search for Gun Guy WIBC or just WIBC, and you'll see that listed. It's not real thrilling to watch. It's just me sitting in a studio. But more importantly, there's a chat feature, and it's a little tough to keep up with while I'm doing live radio, but people do ask questions, and we have some back and forth on there during a break. I can jump over and see what's going on the chat feature. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up on there if you wouldn't mind, just so the powers that be here at WIBC see that somebody is tuning in. and they keep that going. But yeah, go to YouTube and tune in if you care to. So National Concealed Carry Reciprocity, specifically H.R. 38, that was just announced yesterday by U.S. Representative Tracy Mann from Kansas and Richard Hudson from North Carolina. It's H.R. 38. It will be. And again, the whole Congress here, this next Congress, they're not even sworn in yet. So this bill's got a long way to go. But they call it the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, and it's been published. And I'm in love with this bill because it doesn't just say, as I mentioned at the beginning of the first hour, it doesn't just say that if any state issues a license, and now, while some states like Illinois and the District of Columbia were forced by the courts to do so, every state now and the District of Columbia issues a license to carry handgun, what a lot of them call concealed carry licenses, to their own state, to their own residence, I should say. And this bill says if you issue a license to your own residence, you have to recognize every other license that anybody has, or if they come from a state with constitutional carry, you have to allow them to carry in your state as well. And there are 29 states now that have constitutional carry. And I'm going to give you some more detail on that here, time permitting, yet in the show. But then I love this bill because we've seen national reciprocity bills before. What I love about this one is it then goes on to say, if you are arrested and prosecuted under the laws of some state, just hypothetically, let's say you go into New York and the folks in New York go, I don't care about this new law passed at the federal level. If you don't have a New York license to carry or concealed carry permit, which are like hen's teeth, trying to get those in New York, they almost don't exist. But unless you have a New York carry license, then you can't carry in New York, so they arrest you and they prosecute you anyway. This says, under federal law, not only do you get that case dismissed, but you can recover your attorney's fees. Then it says that you can file a lawsuit for any additional damages and have your attorney's fees paid for having your rights violated by that state that didn't recognize the authority of federal law through this bill, if it were to pass into law. That's exciting. That's way exciting. And I love the bill in terms of what it attempts to accomplish. It would allow you or I, to the extent we're both from Indiana where we have constitutional carry, and if you have an Indiana license to carry handgun, would allow us to carry in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. That's pretty damn cool. Now, that's just the beginning when we start talking about traveling with a firearm. And there are a lot of other things you got to be concerned about, including making sure that you comply with all the other laws in that state. Just knowing that you can carry, like right now, there are 29 states that have constitutional carry. Most of those, all but a handful, allow you to carry even as a non-resident if you're at least 18. A lot of states say if you're at least 21. but you can carry even without a license. 32 states recognize our license. So, okay, so we know we can carry to those 32 states. If this bill were to pass, it'll be all 50. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what you got to know when you're traveling with your gun. And I've talked about this here before on the Gun Guy Show, because all the other laws that apply, I was talking about this just last week and a bit the week before in a different context, but you also got to know all the laws, like, do you have to disclose there's a gun in the car if you get pulled over? Can you carry into a place that serves alcohol? And I won't repeat that discussion that went on in previous shows, but that's a big part of the equation. But at least in terms of your ability to carry, I love the idea of this passing. It is still not my favorite way to deal with the national carry issue. Why is that? Well, let's also talk about recent events to answer that question, which is and I just very briefly at the end of a show, I mentioned the fact that the Firearm Policy Coalition, and it's a group that, like the NRA, like Gun Owners of America, like the Second Amendment Foundation, there are some really solid pro-2A groups out there at the national level. I'm very proud of the 2A project we have right here in Indiana that I founded. But on the national level, Firearms Policy Coalition, these folks are badasses in the courtroom. And they have done a nice job going into court and filing lawsuits and winning battles that have protected, if not expanded, and in some cases clearly expanded, Second Amendment rights in this country. And they filed a lawsuit that it's still in the very early stages, and who knows where this will go. It has the potential of accomplishing national reciprocity in a way that I actually prefer over Congress passing a law. And I'll explain in more detail here in just a minute, but what do I have against Congress passing a law? Well, I don't have anything against it. However, I'm a little hypocritical because I believe in the 10th Amendment, which says that powers not expressly given to the federal government are reserved to the states and the people. And I generally oppose federal government overreach in terms of the federal government trying to tell the states what the law should be within their states, except in those areas that are specifically where the federal government is specifically granted power under the Constitution. And what is completely lost on a lot of people is there are very limited delegations of power to the federal government. You would never know it now. And the two greatest travesties, if you listen to the Gun Guy Show, you know what I'm going to say. The two greatest travesties we've ever had happen in terms of deviating from this beautiful model of government that our founders gave us through this incredibly brilliant document, the Constitution. The two greatest travesties where we've departed from the vision of the founders are, one, the rise of this illegal and unconstitutional fourth branch of government, which are the executive agencies out there that can control your life and put you in prison. The regulatory agencies out there that pass regulations, that enforce regulations, that interpret regulations, that have all three powers that our founders sought to keep separate among the branches of government, the judicial, the legislative, and the executive. There are administrative agencies out there through this illegal fourth branch of government, unconstitutional fourth branch of government, that exercise all three powers of government, which is exactly what our founders sought to prohibit as a means of preserving liberty in this country and avoiding tyranny. And so the rise of the administrative state, the administrative fourth branch of government, is number one. No question about it. And the Supreme Court allowing the Commerce Clause to be a basis for the federal government to regulate anything and every damn thing that they ever care to regulate, notwithstanding the fact that our founders intended for the Commerce Clause to be very narrow. But for instance, do you know there is no police power delegated to the federal government in the Constitution? The police power was reserved to the states through the 10th Amendment. Yet we have more people running around with federal badges carrying guns than we have U.S. Marines. It's not what the founders wanted. They didn't want a federal government. They wanted with a police force with that kind of power and that kind of authority. The ATF agents running around with badges and guns, violating people's rights, putting people in prison. That's not what our founders ever envisioned. And so to cheer on Congress, which I'm exposing my hypocrisy here, to cheer on Congress, which to some degree I'm clearly doing, to say, yeah, tell those states that they have to recognize my license to carry so I can complete my selfish goal of being able, I think it's my constitutional right, but it's also my selfish goal to carry in every state in the country and the District of Columbia. So, yeah, Congress, you go in there and tell those states what to do. While I think that preserves my Second Amendment right and honors a pre-existing constitutional right, it also exposes my hypocrisy when it comes to separation of the federal government and the state and the recognition of the true meaning of the founders in the 10th Amendment and the expansion of federal power and federal regulatory authority over the states, which I generally oppose. So I have to be a hypocrite on those points to advocate for national reciprocity through a bill of Congress. And so there's no way I can do that without putting my hand up going, hello, excuse me, yep, Guy Relford, hypocrite. I'm all for limiting the power of the federal government and opposing anything that's any power the federal government's exercising that's not expressly given to them in the Constitution. But, oh, hey, boy, I sure like this power the federal government's exercising over the states to allow me to carry in all 50 states. I have to be a hypocrite to say that. But the lawsuit that I just mentioned, recently filed by the Firearms Policy Coalition, that has to do with Louisiana's concealed carry laws, or handgun carry laws is a better description. It has the capacity, it's not going to happen anytime soon, but it has the capacity to accomplish in my mind, in a much more fitting manner, and a manner much more consistent with my view of the Constitution and the separation of powers and the delegation of powers to the federal government, and what powers were and were not given to the federal government, much more consistent with all of that. And so I don't have to be such a horrible hypocrite to cheer on what the FPC is trying to accomplish in the courtroom. What's that? How's that work? That's what we'll go into when we come back. I'm going to continue to take your calls. We've had fabulous calls here this evening. Give us a call. Join the discussion. 317-239-9393. 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
We knew it was coming.
This dangerous storm. Where the snow's going to hit, the timing of the snow, ice and snow.
Now it's here.
Slick roads and sidewalks.
Additional accumulations.
It is definitely dangerous.
And we'll be here with you.
2 jackknife semis.
More Indy DPW plows out right now.
Close to 200 flight cancellations.
Continuing coverage on your official severe winter weather station.
Crashes and some slide-offs in the area.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. As you always hear me say here on The Gun Guy Show, our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. This is 4.5 to 5 hours of the most popular, it's the second time I've said that, the most important legal information, most important laws that we have right here in Indiana. If you own a gun in Indiana, and certainly if you carry a gun in Indiana, these are the laws, and this is the information that you definitely need to keep in mind, definitely need to be educated on. That's exactly what we provide through Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. Our next one's coming up 2 weeks from today, Saturday, January 25th, 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. at Indy Arms on the northeast side of Indy, there at 2550 East 55th Street, conveniently located here in Indy. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We also have one coming up in March out in Avon at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range. It's going to be right there on Kingston Street at Parabellum, also 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. Also, $50 for individuals, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there. You can sign up right online. Just go to tactical-firearms.com and click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Ooh, up top, bike shop.
Yeah. It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messelthorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo!
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Dents happen. There's a whole lot of stuff that can mess up the look of your vehicle. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal. PDR is paintless dent removal that saves your factory finish and is way less invasive than traditional body shop repairs. And it's faster too, sometimes same day. Google Kill a Dent Removal and check out the reviews and photos. Then schedule your repair. Hail baseballs, kids, fender benders, shopping carts, flying cows, angry X's, and anything else that leaves dents. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal.
Pat Sullivan here with Michaela of Michaelis. If you have water damage, why should you call Michaelis?
Michaelis is a local family-owned Indianapolis company with 39 years experience. On call 24/7, 365. We are IICRC certified and will restore your space to pre-loss condition or better. And we work through the entire insurance process on your behalf to make it easy.
Water, storms, fire, and mold. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Text or call 844-FIX-INDY.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. GI Bill, SkillBridge, and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577.
Service today?
Today.
B is offering one bath remodel for as low as $99 a month, or get two bath remodels for as low as $249 a month. Call now to schedule that free in-home design consultation.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I'll tell you what, is it Varan has called in? I may butcher your name there. I apologize for that. Welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Yeah, hi there. How are you?
Good. How are you? Do you have a question for us?
Yes, I am potentially moving to Oregon this summer related to a job, and I have a 9mm handgun. So I was wondering what would be the best way to move that gun, if it is at all possible or not.
And I'm sorry, you're going to Oregon, did you say?
Yes, Southern Oregon.
Okay, and are you going to drive out there or are you going to fly out there?
I can do either. I mean, if we'll be moving, I may potentially have to drive. too.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Is it a handgun?
Yes, it's a 9mm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I don't believe, and I'm going to talk about reciprocity here in a moment, but I don't believe Oregon recognizes our license to carry. So I'm not sure that you can legally carry that gun in Oregon. So that's a problem. You can travel across multiple states if you comply with what's called the Firearm Owners Protection Act that requires you, this is driving, that have the gun unloaded and in a compartment separate from the passenger compartment, like the trunk. If you don't have a trunk, like you're in an SUV, it has to be unloaded and locked in a case of some kind. You can fly with it potentially, but that assumes that you're legal in the place where you land, and I don't believe Oregon falls on that list. So I'll tell you what, in terms of reciprocity and what states recognize our Indiana license, do you have an Indiana license to carry a handgun?
No, I don't have a license.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I don't believe you're going to be able to legally possess that gun in Oregon. It bears more discussion than what I have time to do here. But I think it's going to be very difficult for you to take that gun to Oregon and comply with the laws, not only of getting it there, but also of having it lawfully in your possession once you get to Oregon. I don't know what their laws are in terms of the ability to possess it in your home, just not carry it in public. I'm not an Oregon lawyer, but I see a bunch of hurdles coming out right now, and I'm really not sure I see a way of getting around those without talking to people in Oregon who are going to be more familiar with the laws out there. So I'm sorry I couldn't give you more detailed discussion, but when I start venturing outside the Indiana laws, I get pretty nervous pretty quick on advising people on what the law might be. So let's talk about this case that has the potential, and maybe it's this case, maybe it's a different case. But I actually, in terms of the issue of national reciprocity, this is an issue I would prefer to see resolved in the courts rather than by Congress. And that's for reasons I just discussed in the last segment. So, I have to be a hypocrite and say, oh, yeah, Congress, weigh in here in some area that I don't believe Congress has the ability to regulate. Now, people are rolling their eyes at me left and right going, my God, Guy, have you missed all the congressional bills on gun control and all the federal laws that regulate guns, that have been going on since 1934 when they passed the National Firearms Act, right on up through the Gun Control Act of 1968 and the Brady Bill in 94 and all the other laws. Well, I have to be a purist when it comes to the Constitution's delegation of powers as between Congress and as between the states, as between the federal government, as between the states. And I think Supreme Court's gotten that wrong, and I think the Congress has gotten it dramatically wrong. And I don't, and there's a separate question, by the way, which is what Congress giveth, Congress can taketh away. So if we're going to get national reciprocity through a bill of Congress, suddenly when the liberals are in charge, the anti-Second Amendment people are in charge, they could easily come in and repeal that law. I mean, as we've seen with things like going in the opposite direction, things like, Joe Biden crowed for years over coming in and passing the assault weapon ban back in 94. Well, okay. Well, it eventually expired. But federal law is just a good example of how federal law comes and goes. Federal law changes depending on who's in Congress and who has majority. And so I would much prefer a different resolution of this issue. That's why I would prefer a resolution in the courts. What's the lawsuit filed by the FBC regarding the Louisiana law? Well, Louisiana, it's really kind of interesting. And it's kind of interesting how they've teed up this issue, which is a state's ability to control the carrying of handguns across state lines. Given the Louisiana law, Louisiana just recently passed constitutional carry. What's interesting about Louisiana's constitutional carry law, though, is if you are not a resident of Louisiana, then, as I understand it, their constitutional carry law only allows you to open carry. You cannot conceal carry. And you can only conceal carry if you have a license issued by your home state from a state that Louisiana recognizes. Otherwise, Louisiana doesn't allow you to cross into Louisiana while carrying your concealed handgun. And so the FPC filed a lawsuit just in December 23rd, so just a couple of weeks ago. And they talk about this. If you want to track it, it's a case called Mate versus Westcott. Mate, M-A-T-E. And just Google that or go to the Firearm Policy Coalition website, which is just firearmspolicy.org, and you'll see the announcement. And they said, closing off non-residents' ability to obtain a carry license substantially infringes their constitutionally protected right to carry a firearm in public for self-defense. There is no well-established and representative historical tradition of restricting the ability to bear arms based on residency. And so what they're really focused on is the fact that as a non-resident, you can't get a Louisiana license. And so you can potentially be from a state, because unlike Indiana, Louisiana does not recognize every other state's license. Some they do, some they don't. Because they have a law that kind of makes some sense to me, although I like Indiana's better. Louisiana's law says that they only recognize the licenses from any state that recognize the Louisiana license themselves. So Illinois doesn't recognize anybody else's license. So Louisiana doesn't recognize their license. New York doesn't recognize anybody else's license. So Louisiana doesn't recognize their license either. Indiana says, not only do we recognize every other state's license, we recognize the licenses issued by foreign countries. If you legally possess a gun in the United States and in Indiana, you can carry your handgun in Indiana. And our constitutional carry law applies to non-residents as well. So Indiana is very expansive. Louisiana says no, as a non-resident, first of all, we don't recognize the licenses of everybody else. And secondly, you cannot get a Louisiana license unless you're a Louisiana resident. And coming from out of state, there are restrictions. So this lawsuit says, hold on, if I have a constitutional right to carry a firearm, I mean, the Second Amendment says I have a right to keep and bear arms. Bear obviously means carry. The Supreme Court has recognized that that means I have a fundamental constitutionally protected right to carry a handgun. How does that right, I should say, disappear when I cross state lines? And that's exactly what this quote here says. If you go to FPC's website, closing off non-residents' ability to obtain a carry license substantially infringes their constitutionally protected right to carry a firearm in public for self-defense. And so what they're saying is a right is either a right or it's not. And if I have a constitutionally protected right to carry a handgun, which the Supreme Court has already recognized, that's in the Bruin case, then how does that right end at the state line? And so they're looking for a judicial determination, looking for a court to say that an individual state, if you're otherwise legal to carry your handgun, the individual state says, well, you're legal elsewhere, you're not legal here. If you cross the state line into our state, you're violating our law and we'll put you in prison. And listen, this is just a law filed as to Louisiana's statute. It's right now, it's in the district courts. If the Firearm Policy Coalition wins this lawsuit, it'll have no effect on us here in Indiana immediately. But if it goes up to the Fifth Circuit, which has Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana in it, and they issue a ruling, and then that ruling very likely will conflict with other rulings from more liberal jurisdictions across the country, then there's a conflict among the circuits, then that's a case that could potentially go to the Supreme Court. So we're talking years down the road. But if this does what I think it's aimed to do, you could get a Supreme Court decision that says, no, states may not regulate the carrying of handguns in such a way that means law-abiding citizens from other states lose their constitutionally protected Second Amendment rights simply by crossing a state line into that state. That's unconstitutional. Not only the Second Amendment, but there's a great 14th Amendment argument which I'll go into when we come back. Right now, we're a little past the bottom of the hour. We're taking a break. Join the discussion. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Donald Trump has invited President Xi to the inauguration. Your thoughts, Nigel?
It's total power move.
This is what I expect. On the day of the inauguration, he forces President Xi to eat McDonald's. Like when he brought RFK Jr. into his cabinet, has to sit down and eat a Big Mac. Like, wouldn't you love to see President Xi sitting down eating a Big Mac?
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Terry Stacy for Cardwell Do It Best Home Center, just south of the Gateway Arch on Indy's South Side. Your discount roofing headquarters. Stop in for wholesale and factory direct pricing on the roofing shingles and supplies you need at the price you love. They offer dimensional and 3-tab shingles at low, low prices. Cardwell also carries a full line of best look quality paints produced by Sherwin-Williams, America's largest paint manufacturer, with paint and primer all in one. Cardwell also carries a full line of Hillman fasteners, and for winter, snow shovels, rock salt, and ice melter all in stock. At Cardwell Do It Best, you'll also find a full line of lawn and garden supplies, plumbing, electrical, with lumber and building materials too. Cardwell Home Center. Shop online at cardwellhomecenter.com with over 67,000 products available and free shipping to the store. Cardwell Do It Best, 3205 Madison Avenue, just south of the Gateway Arch on Indy's South Side, serving the greater Indianapolis community since 1945.
Hey, y'all, I'm Blake Shelton. Being from Oklahoma, I know a thing or two about natural disasters. Tornadoes are common where I'm from and have affected my life and the lives of people I care about. No matter where you live, be aware of the dangers in your area and have a plan. You can create an emergency kit, come up with an evacuation plan, and know where to seek shelter. You never know when a disaster may hit. These simple steps can help save a life. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
We need each other because every someone needs someone else.
We need each other because when we work together, we can do so much more.
We connect more children with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. And that's what Child Fund is all about.
Because when you make someone's world better, you make everyone's world better.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
Learn more at childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
News, I'm Roger Stern. Wildfires are flaring up in L.A., and our Max Gordon says firefighters are doing their best.
We've had multiple tankers making drops right behind us here. That's where these air tankers have been laying down fire retardant, essentially creating a fire break where the fire won't be able to pass.
13 people are confirmed dead. Fires have destroyed 12,000 structures. Donald Trump making history. In 9 days, he becomes the first convicted felon to be sworn in as president. New York State Judge Juan Merchan sentencing him, but not imposing jail time or a fine.
Extraordinary legal protections afforded by the Office of the Chief Executive is a factor that overrides all others.
Manhattan jury convicted Trump on 34 counts of falsifying business records. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and the holidays are gone, and it's time to get your house back to the clean you love. And Zerorez is doing their part to help with their best offer of 24% off all their cleaning services. All of them. Floors, tiles, carpets, rugs, upholstery, even your air ducts. Don't miss this deal. Get it all Zerorez-ified with a 24% off January sale. Look, this is the best Zerorez offer I've ever seen, and it won't last long. The Zerorez pros know how to get your carpets and floors and rugs and upholstery and ductwork too really clean. And they can help you deal with the deeply embedded dirt, dander, and allergens, not to mention the pet stains and some of your stains. The game changer is the patented ZR water that uses no soap, leaves no residue, and there are no harsh chemicals because they just aren't needed to get things really clean. I just love these folks. Just call them, mention WIBC, get 24% off right now. Call 317-388-5141 or book things online at ZerorezIndy.com.
When you reflect on some of your favorite relationships during the course of your life, the key component is connection. That happens through conversations and spending time with one another. Often people will say they feel far from God. Well, the key to connecting with Him is the same thing. We just call it prayer. Life Church is offering 21 days of prayer, January 5th through 25th at 6:30 p.m. and Saturday mornings. Go to lifechurchin.com for times and locations and connect with God today.
We may be thousands of miles apart, but we can still connect. And when we do, we make things better. At Child Fund, we connect children all around the world with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. Together, we co-create connections that help millions of children who live in poverty worldwide, and their families, and their communities, and you. Join us. Together, we can make the world a better place. 2 small worlds at a time. Visit childfund.org to learn more.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So how would this work in the courts? And why do I prefer this over Congress stepping in? Again, would I selfishly be thrilled that we get the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act passed and now we can carry in all 50 states? Would I like to carry in all 50 states? Yes. But Congress doing it, to me, is not the perfect way to do it. The better way to do it, to me, is to have ultimately the Supreme Court of the United States say that, yes, the carrying of a firearm, in particular a handgun, outside the home is a constitutionally protected right. That part the Supreme Court's already said. That's New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, 2022. But then I want them to say that that right does not stop at a state line, and to the extent that any given state will not allow residents of other states to exercise their right to bear arms, protected by the Second Amendment, in the form of carrying a handgun, into that state, that's unconstitutional. That's the way to fix it. You get that ruling from the Supreme Court, that's likely to endure in perpetuity. Now, again, the court can change over time. You know, we saw what they did on abortion. Yes, there's a constitutionally protected right to abortion. No, there's not. But again, I think they got it right. Doesn't matter how you feel about abortion. That's not the point. The Supreme Court got it right, which is there's no such right in the Constitution. So they just kicked it back to the states, and the states can decide what they want to do on abortion. They want to make it illegal? Great, make it illegal. You want to make it totally legal, abortion on demand? Great, go for it. It ought to be regulated at the state level. That's much more consistent with my view of how federal government's supposed to work generally, as I just went through. So the Supreme Court got that right. I would like them to also say, however, that what the states are not allowed to do is to violate my right at their state line. And the precedent, one of the strongest precedents for this, and this will surprise you, I'm guessing, one of the strongest precedents for this is a previous Supreme Court case, Obergefell versus Hodges, that actually, and this is the surprising part, that actually has to do with same-sex marriage, with gay marriage. And you're probably, again, looking at your computer or your radio right now going, what the hell is this idiot talking about? How does gay marriage have anything to do with Second Amendment rights? Well, I'll tell you what, we're here at the three-quarter hour. Let's take a break. We'll come back. I'll explain it exactly why. This is a beautiful precedent. It doesn't matter how you feel about gay marriage. It's why does this case provide such a great precedent and such a great argument for why we ought to win at the Supreme Court ultimately on why one state cannot deny me my right to carry my handgun into their state. It's remarkably similar in terms of the Supreme Court analysis under the 14th Amendment to the argument of why one state cannot refuse to recognize my gay marriage license. Those words are a little difficult to get out. If I want to cross into their state, it's really a very similar discussion. That's what we'll get into when we come back. If we have time, we'll continue to take your calls, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
A good cow is a dead cow.
What? Wow. I like steak. No one's going to argue with you there. This is something new. He's got the whole weird cow thing. That right there. I'm just saying that if the only good cow is a dead cow isn't a promo for WIBC by this time tomorrow, I'm firing everybody.
That's all you got to put in it, man.
Our whole team's got to go.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Rock Op Defense Solutions. I'll tell you what, some incredibly high-end fighting rifles are available from a manufacturer located right here in central Indiana. I'm thrilled about these. I own a Rod 15, which is my go-to AR-15 platform rifle right now, which I got at the good folks, from the good folks at Rock-Op Defense. You can check them out at rock-opdefense.com. Not only great AR-15 platform fighting rifles, and again, they have several different price points available, but these are some of the finest fighting rifles you're gonna find anywhere from any manufacturer in the country. I know I own several high-end fighting rifles, AR-15 platform rifles, and my Rock-Op Defense Solutions rifle is my go-to. They not only have sales at several different platforms, they also have upgrade services. They'll help you to SBR your rifle, that is, make it a short-barreled rifle. They'll help you with Cerakoting and refinishing. They'll help you with gunsmithing services, all along those lines. If you've got a fighting rifle or you're looking to get into that market, these are the folks that you want to talk to. Again, my go-to is my Rod 15 from rock-opdefense.com. Check them out. Located in Avon, you can see some of their rifles right there. They're right behind Fort Liberty Firearms, located along US 36 in Avon. You can stop into Fort Liberty and see some Rod 15s, just like the one that I have, that I train with, and that is my absolute favorite fighting rifle that I own. Check them out in Avon, rock-opdefense.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here, and if you're ready to start the new year taking care of you, then my friends at Hope Plumbing are here to help. For the month of January, get softer skin and hair, spotless glassware, take better care of your home appliances, and save money with a $200 off any new water softener. Let's celebrate the new year with the gift of soft water and ditch annoying scale buildup, failing appliances, and rough skin and nails. Call my friends at Hope Plumbing today.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Before I was adopted, I felt alone.
I felt nervous that I wouldn't have a family.
I was getting older and older. I didn't think I was going to get adopted.
With help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, Lexi, Connor, and LaShawna now have a forever family and the foundation for a bright future.
When I was adopted, it was like, wow, I get to settle, and this is permanent.
After I was adopted, I felt happy.
Adoption changed me for the better. I feel like I can be whoever I want to be.
Every child deserves a safe, loving, and permanent home. Help the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption find forever families for children who have been lingering in foster care the longest. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I am not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs, YAP. I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
You want to listen all day to WIBC, but you don't always have time. Don't worry. There's a podcast for that. The WIBC Mashup. Daily highlights from your favorite hosts, Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey, and Hammer and Nigel. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So on the Obergefell decision, and again, this has to do with same-sex marriage. And listen, and that's another issue, just not on my topic. Not on my radar, I should say. Two people, same sex, want to get married. I don't think the government needs to be involved in that. Again, that's my libertarian streak coming out of me. Now, can they force churches to perform the ceremony? Oh, hell no. That's up to the church. And there are any number of different issues, but two people want to get married. They're in love with each other for whatever reason. God bless you. Get married. Not on my radar, not something that concerns me. And people don't make a religious argument against it. Hey, listen, I'm not the one to judge. It's not on my radar. So the discussion that's more important in my mind is how the Obergefell decision that says two things. It says, one, and this isn't the relevant part, there is a constitutionally protected right to enter into a same-sex marriage, and that states can't ban that. That's irrelevant for purposes of this discussion. But then they went on, under the 14th Amendment, they also went in, and here we're talking about equal protection and due process, which is what the 14th Amendment guarantees, among other things. But they also went into a discussion of, okay, so there is a right to get married as between same-sex couples. But does every other state have an obligation to recognize that license within that state, even if it's performed somewhere else? In other words, do they have to recognize that marriage license? And when I read this language, being a two-way guy, I just naturally substituted license to carry for marriage license. And let me read, because of course they said, yes, there's a right to get married to someone of their same gender. And then separately, every other state has to recognize that marriage license within that state. And on the second point about recognizing a marriage license across state lines, they went through this analysis. This is a quote right from the Supreme Court decision from 2015. Being married in one state but having that valid marriage denied in another is one of the most perplexing and distressing complications of the law of domestic relations. Leaving the current state of affairs in place would maintain and promote instability and uncertainty. For some couples, even an ordinary drive into a neighboring state to visit family or friends risks causing severe hardship in the event of a spouse's hospitalization while across state lines because, and this is my adding, because that state doesn't recognize their marriage license. So take out marriage license, put in gun license. Being licensed to carry a handgun in one state, but having that valid license denied in another state is one of the most perplexing and distressing complications of the law of the Second Amendment. Leaving the current state of affairs in place would maintain and promote instability and uncertainty. For some licensees, even an ordinary drive into a neighboring state to visit family or friends could cause severe hardship in the event they are arrested, prosecuted, and imprisoned due to their not having a license in that state that they're visiting. Now, I just used the exact language of the Supreme Court's decision on same-sex marriage, and I substituted license to carry, and it fits better than the discussion over same-sex marriage. So that's a 14th Amendment argument for why one state simply doesn't have the ability to deny the existence of my license. All of this presumes, by the way, a constitutionally protected right. Well, we know we have a constitutionally protected right to carry a handgun. Supreme Court said so. We know that intuitively, but the Supreme Court's confirmed it. So once, and by the way, when I've ever brought up this before, people will comment, some of you comment on social media, well, that means every state has to recognize my nursing license. No. There's no constitutionally protected right to be a nurse. So it presumes the existence of a constitutionally protected right. Once that exists, then one state can't deny you that simply by crossing state lines. That's the way to go. That's how we get national reciprocity. That's what I want to see. Get it done in courts. And that's it for this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you come back. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes,